This is Luke Rudkowski of WeAreChange.org here in Acapulco, Mexico, and with the situation getting out of hand inside of Syria, we now know that Saudi Arabia is sending in missiles to go against Russian and Syrian aircraft inside of Syria. We know that there has been major truck bombs inside of Syria that have killed hundreds of people in one incident alone. The situation is getting out of hand, and to get more perspective on the bigger picture of what's happening here, I am joined by the one and only Ken O'Keefe, former Marine, researcher, activist, and just someone who has been studying this very key important issue just like we have on this YouTube channel. And I really wanted to ask you, Ken, how do we break everything down of what the hell is happening inside of Syria? What is happening? How do you see it from your perspective?
Well, I'm sure you understand the same principles. You know, it's kind of like being a broken record, repeating what has been out there for decades, actually, and explains everything about what's happening in Syria right now. And it's a position paper called A Strategy for Israel in the 1980s by Oded Yanan. And basically what it does is it lays out the agenda for Israel in line with the Greater Israel Project. And what a lot of people don't realize yet is that there is this goal of Greater Israel, for Israel to expand up into Syria, Lebanon, into Iraq, into Jordan, into Saudi Arabia, and also into Egypt, from the river Euphrates up in the north down to the Nile in Egypt. And this goal involves a very nefarious and very destructive agenda of effectively getting our surrounding nations to bleed each other, to get the Arabs and Muslims to bleed each other. So everything that can be done to sow the seeds of sectarian hatred, you know, so blowing up a mosque, blow up a Shia mosque, oh, the Sunnis did it, blow up a Sunni mosque, oh, the Shia did it, and just basically set it alight and get people to start killing each other. That is what's been employed all of this time in Iraq and Syria. It's very transparent. We see the results. We know about the money, the floods of money that come from Saudi Arabia, our best friend and ally, the other Gulf states, Turkey facilitating transfer of terrorists across the border, training grounds in Turkey and Jordan. All of our best friends and allies in the region have an inherent stake in this policy being continued. Saudi Arabia might as well be Israel as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And of course, I told you in the beginning, this is about Greater Israel. So you could never say this publicly. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna pump in a bunch of mercenaries who've got no compassion, no ethics, no empathy, no nothing. They're just blood money mercenaries. They're gonna rip your country apart. They're gonna blow up things that make it look like this person did it when in fact it was us that did it. And if you look at the motto of the Mossad, you know, by way of deception, thou shalt do war. There you go. That's what's happening. So it's not actually a disaster. What's happening in the Middle East is according to plan, and it's part of this Greater Israel Project.
Now, I really wanted to ask you about the petrodollar, because a lot of foreign policy with the United States has been centered around that, along with Israel as well. But clearly, Israel right now is standing very closely with the Sunnis, with Saudi Arabia, with Turkey, bombing Assad's forces, helping out the rebellion inside of Syria, which is helping out ISIS in the region. And then we see the Shiites, which is mainly Assad, which is mainly Iran. Iraq is now kind of like capitulating to Russia as well. Jordan is kind of also in the middle ground there as well, kind of also going back and forth. But you kind of see them very heavily support the Sunnis. Did Israel always have an alliance with Sunnis? And the bigger question is the petrodollar also key to the U.S. involvement in all of this?
Well, the petrodollar is essential for sure, and we can't ignore the fact that that system's not going to last much longer. This is part of why the Americans really need to pay attention, because once that system is done, you're fucked. That's the bottom line, completely fucked. I mean, all that artificial wealth that you thought had something to do with your work ethic or more industrious or whatever bullshit, it's because you've had an artificially inflated dollar, which is also deflated currencies around the world. So we've been living, this is one of the things I've been saying for a long time, and you know, people, a lot of time they don't want to hear it, but we've been living on the back of prosperity that was directly as a result of our complicity. We have not spoken out about what our governments have done, and yet we've got the reward of a higher inflated currency value, which has allowed us to live a much better life compared to most people. That's part of our collective guilt, whether we want to accept it or not. But the bottom line is the petrodollar system is living on borrowed time, and it would behoove the American people to look at things like what Kennedy did in '63, issuing the U.S. dollar outside of the Federal Reserve Bank. This is desperately needed. It'd be much better to get this in place now than to wait until the crash and figure it all out, you know, so that's definitely a key. In terms of the alliance with Israel and the Sunnis, for sure, if you look at its very interesting history, in fact, people have been killed for writing this type of history, but the origins of the Saudi regime, the only nation in the world named after a family, the origins of the Saudi regime reveal Jewish supremacist roots, and this is very well documented. But if you look at the policies of Saudi Arabia, you can't reasonably argue that these policies aren't hugely advantageous to the Greater Israel Project. In fact, if you didn't have something like Saudi Arabia from Israel's perspective, you'd want to create something like Saudi Arabia. And what's also, the sort of smoking gun, as it were, like the building 7 of all of this, is the fact that Israel has not once been attacked by ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Al-Nusra Front. In fact, we know Israel's provided medical attention to Al-Nusra and Al-Qaeda linked in, so how much more stark can it be? The oil that's even being extracted from Syria is going through Turkey and heading to Israel. So I'd say Israel and Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf states, they all are basically part of a holistic entity which incorporates an agenda that could never be publicly displayed, but they all work for the same. And for me, the bankers, that's where you get to the top.
I haven't really honestly seen the kind of greater plan that you're speaking about when it comes to Israel, but I knew that with the Golan Heights area and with Assad in power, Israel was never going to be able to acquire that land because Assad was staking his claim in that land as well. And we know that there's new minerals and new oil also found in that very key, critically important region with the border between Syria and Israel, which Israel has been actually helping. There's actually photos and videos of rebel forces, al-Nusra, ISIS, and these strange mercenaries coming into Israel for help to get rid of Bashar al-Assad, which is just critically insane. But just to overlay everything, do you think Israel is the primary driving force in everything? Because seeing it geopolitically, it's a lot more chaotic and a lot more sporadic from my own perspective. But what do you think?
Well, I mean, the first thing we need to do is define Israel. If you mean like the government or Netanyahu or anything, no, absolutely not. The governments don't have any real power. However, they can be a real good indication of what the agenda is. So you get a lefty and you can expect maybe slightly less warlike posture and, not any real substance, but a slightly different style of tyranny. In Israel, what we have is the favorite plaything of those who are ruling the world. I mean, many would refer to Israel as sort of a Rothschild's fiefdom. It's riddled with influence from the banking industry. It is, for my opinion, the favorite plaything of the bankers. Its most important job is to sow the seeds of division throughout the region and maintain perpetual conflict. That's perfectly complementary to the goal of the bankers who make shitloads of money off of our division. They're laughing all the way to the bank, literally, when we are at war. And of course, they fund all sides and so on. So for me, Israel in itself has no real power, but it's backed by those who have the power, the bankers, and it is their favorite little plaything. And it's allowed to do whatever and anything it wants, literally to the point of attacking the USS Liberty, killing 34 in open daylight, indisputably so. They just got away with it. They just killed 34 Americans, no problem. It's Israel, man. They can do whatever the hell they want. In fact, our own government will facilitate the cover-up of that crime at the behest of Israel, for the protection of Israel. Never mind 9/11, Mossad's fingerprints all over it, indisputably so. They had foreknowledge. That's not even debatable. Larry Silverstein and Frank Lowy, I mean, what a couple of disgusting individuals. Traitors. If they were Muslims, let's imagine what would happen. Let's imagine it's not Silverstein and Lowy. Let's imagine it's Muhammad and, Abdul. It wouldn't have happened that way.
No, I totally agree with kind of the central banking figure. There's central elites kind of manipulating people and countries in order to divide and conquer, create more conflict, and then order out of chaos, get their kind of agenda of more power and more control over everyone. And then in the long run, people need to understand the people of Israel, the people of the Middle East, especially the people in Syria, everyone, all the people suffer and all the people are in pain. Really, really great points. Thank you for that. But one thing I also wanted to bring up, because I'm extremely curious, you had a fundraiser recently. And you were raising money, but you didn't tell the people, is this right? You didn't tell the people what you were raising money for? Is that right?
That is, I mean, we told them something, but in terms of the actual strategy, no. And this was, I only initiated the fundraiser in December of last year. So, it's fairly recent. And believe you me, it wasn't lost on me. Okay, so let's see, we're going to ask for $79,000, but we're not actually telling the strategy. And I honestly accepted the fact, well, if we don't get the money, understandable, and I won't take it personally, but I can't reveal the strategy, because to reveal the strategy and not have everything in place that's essential, for me, it's kind of like a military mission. You've got a mission objective, you've got to have certain lower objectives achieved before you can make the main objective. And if you don't do that, you're compromising your chances of success in the mission. So I can't reveal the strategy even if I wanted to, and believe me, I would. I'd love to have said, here's the strategy. But it wouldn't be wise, it wouldn't be smart. And people gave us not only what we asked for, but more than what we asked for. So there's a lot of, I take it as a great, great compliment, and I love and respect everybody who gave. Obviously, people do believe I'm sincere, and obviously they're hoping that my plan really reaps some serious fruit. I believe it will. I really do.
So what's the strategy?
Yeah, so the strategy.
No, I'm just joking, but
In the crux.
yeah, in like without revealing too much details, when can people possibly and where can people find out the announcement of this project when it actually does happen?
Well, the thing to do is go to worldcitizen.solutions. So www.worldcitizen.solutions. That's our website, and it'll give updates. You can get on the mailing list and whatnot. I hope that we'll be able to launch this in 4 months or so. But again, there's a lot of things that need to be in place. We're working on it. We have the budget now. Shifting money around is a pain in the ass. You know, you've always got to worry about PayPal and these motherfuckers stealing your money. So, you know, we got the money, but keeping it and protecting it is also a task, and we'll do our best there. But I hope 4 months or so.
I'm excited. Ken, thank you so much for all the information. Check out Ken's website in the description below, and appreciate you, brother. Thank you.